We are on Village TV, and it will be rerun at the end. I'm going to tell you the different times that it's going to be rerun. I would like to particularly thank our volunteers and our staff. We could not do this without them, and particularly Daniel over there, our Assistant Corporate Secretary, who is running the Granicus for us and the timing, et cetera. We'll be using the timing the same as we do for a board meeting. It will be on the screen, and it will count down. They have 3 minutes for their opening statements, a minute and a half to answer the questions, and 2 minutes for their closing statements. So I think I just need to make sure everybody has their phone off, please. Nothing's worse than hearing phones in the middle of a statement. And I don't think it'll be a problem, but I always have to say this, please. No responses from the audience during this. So do not applaud, do not make comments, whatever. You may applaud at the end when all of the candidates have done it, but let's not interrupt, just in the interest of time and out of respect for the other candidates. It's now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the second year, and we're very pleased that she is back and helping us, and this is Constance Sorensen.
Thank you. It's good to see you this morning. What I'm going to have you do first is introduce you, your names, and then when we go around, you will get 3 minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself. And we will go alphabetically, and then when we do the closing remarks, we will go backwards. So Andre will start those. So the first person up is Neda Ardani, and we have Maggie Blackwell, Brian Gilmore, Gary Morrison, Cynthia Rupert, and Andre Torn. So those are your candidates that are with us today. Like I said, we have 3 that are missing. So Neda, if you would begin, please, with your, and again, watch your timer there, but if you would have your opening remarks and let us know who you are and what you're about.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Neda Ardani. I have been a resident of Laguna Woods for 3 years now. My husband, who is retiring soon, and I were looking for an area more peaceful and less hectic after living and working in Los Angeles for many years, and then we have found that here in Laguna Woods. We live at 19 Via Castilla, Unit C. I have 2 bachelor degrees, one in biomedical engineering and the other in English translation. I worked for 10 years as a technical and sales engineer in the medical field and five years in pharmaceutical. At present, I'm working as a licensed real estate agent. I enjoy art classes, swimming, gym, community service, and golf. I would like to serve as a director in United Mutual. I have served in many leadership positions in the past. I believe I can support the activities of the board because of my diverse experience. I'm interested in helping control costs to the resident members. My goals are minimize assessment and reduce the yearly increases. As a realtor, I see the value of the co-op and the resale are going down every day because of the certain financial requirement. I feel the board need to consider revising some of the requirements. It is very difficult for many potential buyers and sellers to do transaction here and depress the value of the co-ops. Our residents having hard time to get permit for any alteration. Speed up the alteration process, it should be another agenda for the board. Quality of replacement equipment is very important. The board needs to look carefully at it. Low quality equipment is not returning our investment. As a team, we should always look to find a secure way to invest United Mutual money to receive maximum return on the investment. I prefer to see that assessment spent on improving the structure such as sewer lines, electrical, and water line. The biggest challenge for the board members should be use their due diligence to minimize waste and proper use of members' assessment in managing and maintaining the operation of VMS with critical emphasis on efficiency. As a real estate agent, I have always been in touch with people, listening to your needs, and trying to help them accomplish their goals. Thank you so much.
Please remember to, let's hold applause till later. Please remember to turn your mics on when you're speaking and then off when you're through, okay? Maggie, would you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, I'm Maggie Blackwell. I'm 15 years in the Gilmore Woods Village. I had my BA in English and secondary credential at USC. I had a Master of Education in Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. I was a secondary teacher for LA Unified for 2 years, a secondary teacher for Hermosa Beach 20 years, negotiated teacher contracts for 12 years. I went to law school at night, took first place in contracts, was an editor of Law Review, on the dean's list, and won the trustee's scholarship. I was a criminal defense attorney, alternate defense counsel 4 years, and public defender LA County 10 years. When I came here, I joined the Women's Golf Club and was on the board 9 years and president twice. I played duplicate bridge. I've been a United director for 3 years. I've been United secretary 3 years on the as the landscape committee chair, 2.5 years as a communication chair, 2.5 years as the governing documents committee chair, and the United Breeze editor for 3 years. I report on this day. No director has more than one vote. Every director has one vote, and everything must be done by vote, and the majority is the winner. There have been suggestions made to landscape recently, and there's been much publication about that. The suggestion was to publish the mowing statistics every month on how we are doing on the weekly mowing. Well, that will never happen. We mow every 2 to 3 weeks in the winter because the grass is not growing and we need to blow the seed at that time. We mow every 7 to 9 days in the summer because that's when the grass grows fastest. The others are 9 to 14 in the spring and fall. So going to weekly will be a huge increase in labor and time for no purpose. It would be damaging to the grass. We might need another team for that. So nobody on the committee proposed that. So it never went up for vote because nobody on the committee proposed it. Then there was a suggestion earlier about bush trim. On every cycle of bush trim, every person must trim so many bushes in so much time. Well, that one was never brought to the committee, and that one was never implemented either. We didn't vote for that. Then there was an early 2017 demand that workers not have breaks, and I did not bring that forward to the committee either because I said this is California in 2017. We don't have slave labor. As to the Roundup question, we had Roundup, and they brought a petition as I had instructed. We did a short study. Oh, I'm done. Thank you.
Maggie, your time's up.
Thank you. All right. Brian, would you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you. I'm Brian Gilmore, and I've been in Laguna Woods for about over 3 years. I'm retired after 21 years at John Deere, where I led collaborative teams focused on advanced products and services, organizational change. These often included multi-million-dollar projects that I managed. Previous to John Deere, I was a tenured full professor of mechanical engineering at Penn State University, where I built and led research programs in collaboration with other disciplines. I have a PhD in mechanical engineering from Purdue, several patents, and journal papers. My beautiful wife, I'm looking for, Hong Ju Hee, and I came to Laguna Woods for the golf, the pools, the amenities, plus a sizable Korean-American population, Bangsamida. Bangsamida, that's what I should say. It's a greeting in Korean. Why I'm running is really the challenge I see, is to contain assessment cost and improve value of amenities, services, and manners. On the cost side, we need take a sharper pencil to reduce cost. There's opportunities in how we utilize technology to improve effectiveness. We can maybe use, not maybe, I know we can use reliability analysis to get a better estimate on the risk that we're facing with major remediation projects like the sewer line relining. We can also take a sharper pencil on purchases. For example, in the business plan, the Green Book, they have a dishwasher cost out at $649, the same one you could buy at Home Depot for $500. If you amortize that across the manors, that's a difference of $4 per manor. That's money. So developing strategic supplier partnerships can help. We did this at John Deere. It's common practice. On the value side, I think we need to dig deeper into the details to improve value. You know, the handyman program was a great idea, but maybe it was the business model that failed. It was a subscription business model. Maybe it should be more like a Uber, almost on demand. We need to look at ways to encourage investment by individuals in their manor. And also find out why people might look at Laguna Woods and then move away, or United Mutual and then look at other ones. My vision, one thing I'd like to change is develop a world-class customer service from phone call to fulfillment of resident need. And we can do that through mapping the workflow, developing a team of employees, residents, VMS managers, brainstorming solutions, and making proposals to the management. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Gary.
Thank you. I've lived in Laguna Woods for 5 years, and it's been a wonderful experience. I was elected to the board of directors 3 years ago and have been treasurer for 2 years. In addition to the treasurer of United's, I served on the GRF Finance Committee, GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee, United Maintenance and the United Construction M&C Committee, Architecture Committee, United Governing Docs, as well as the Disaster Prepared Task Force, Investment Policy Task Force, and Reserve Study Task Force. I'm asking for your support and vote in the upcoming election. I came onto the board with no agenda, and I still have no agenda. Other than listening to the residents, I'd like to listen to what you want, what the level of service that you want, and I want to serve all of you to the best of my ability. I went to college, majored in accounting and economics, furthered my education at Ohio State University with an MBA in accounting and economics. My work experience began at United Communications Sprint as an audit manager. From there, I went to the Ohio State University as a university auditor. I was recruited by Packaging Corporation based in Chicago and was controller over 4 plants. I have in Ohio. 2 plants were in Ohio, 1 in Kentucky and 1 in West Virginia. From there, I went back to Ohio State as the assistant athletic director, presiding over all business functions dealing with sports. At Ohio State, I worked with a $60 million budget in the early 90s. In 1995, I moved to California, worked for the County of Orange as a tax appraiser auditor for 18 years. During this time, I was on the board of directors of the Orange County Employee Union for 8 years, of which we were over 18,000 employees. I've been on the Foothill Townhome Condominium HOA board for 20 years. I want to say that I am all for performing at a level that the residents want. And if you want a higher level, you have to pay a higher level. I want to say that I'm into cost reductions. We'll listen to anything that anyone wants to come up with. As far as investments, we've looked into those, and all I hear is that we want either no risk or very low risk. Our reserves, I am for maintaining the reserves because we never know when there's going to be something major happen to the village, such as an earthquake or a fire, whatever. And so I am very much against using our reserves for expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Cynthia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cynthia Rupert, and I'm a happy and grateful Laguna Woods Village resident of 14 years. A little bit about myself. I moved to Laguna Niguel in 1998 with my 2 children, but in 2005, I moved to Laguna Woods Village to take care of my mother. I'm a very active resident. I frequently use the facilities and the many amenities that are available to us. As far as education and business experience goes, I attended the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill pursuing a pre-med curriculum, then the University of North Carolina in Charlotte, a Bachelor of Science in Accounting, my minor of Computer Science. I was and am a National Honor Society member. Before I retired, I worked for several different companies and areas. I started with Texas Instruments as a computer trainer. I then got a job with a computer company named Comtech in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I was a programmer for 2 years, and then a software department manager for 4 years. I taught computer classes at Central Piedmont Community College in Charlotte, North Carolina. I then took a job with Carolina Brick Homes, where I was the controller, and I focused on cost management. They had 3 offices, and I had to manage all of the accounting departments as well. The last position I had was here in Newport Beach with MFR Financial Resources. I was the controller, and I answered to the president and the CEO. I sat on the investment committee consulting on investment options, and I was a due diligence coordinator. My many years in the village have helped me establish history. I've met many wonderful people. I've shared stories. I've listened to the concerns of residents, and I've learned many of the rules and regulations of United Mutual, which gives insight into changes and possible improvements that might benefit our members. This experience will make me a valuable board member. My focus will be safety, from tighter security at the gates and with vagrants to sidewalk lighting, assessment increases, reviews and control of the assessments which seem to go up all the time, the infrastructure where our amenities could use some repair and replacement, and keeping members informed of new regulations and procedures that are produced by the board, and finally, bringing forward member concerns. These years of experience living in United Mutual have helped me understand living in a co-op better, what it means to be in a co-op versus a condo. I look forward to spending my remaining years here in the village, listening, learning, and living. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Andre?
Okay, my name is Andre Torn, and I live in 389Q Avenida Castilla. I lived here almost 6 years. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics, master's degree in statistics, and I studied MBA in management. I also took courses in geology, biography, photography, video and artificial intelligence, and project management. I've been having a good career based on all the things I've learned through my career. Over the past 3 years, I've served on the United Board. I've met and spoken to many of you, spoke for you about the issues, and always watch your assessment as my own money. I also want to make a statement that our staff work very hard. It's just the board leading them the wrong direction. If the board doesn't ask for changes, give the money they need to change, support them when they need help, advice, and they run into difficulty, they will not do it. So staff needs board support. That's what we need to give them the direction and the support. Once the board makes the change, the staff can then change. Here are some examples that I think the board needs to lead the change. Give them the support and provide the budget to make your life better. Number one, some board member candidates say, we must increase your assessment or your service will suffer. I say, let's find out where we can reduce cost, improve the service, and do more with same or less assessments. Cost reduction is not something a candidate with no experience can realize. When they don't have the experience to find where to cut costs and produce the same results, the only thing they can see is to increase your assessment. Please vote for those who know how to cut costs and improve services. These are the approaches I have or will take to reduce cost. Next, there is a constant argument among the board members. Whom do boards serve? Some board members believe they serve the corporation. I believe the board serves the residents. I've asked the question over and over. I can hear residents speaking to me. I never heard a word from the corporation. What did the corporation say to you that I can't hear? I also ask, you believe you serve the corporation, not the residents. Coming election time, how can you tell the residents to vote for you when you don't serve them? Members are the foundation of the corporation. Without members, the corporation doesn't exist. Board members must focus on members. Vote for candidates who speak to you and speak for you. Next, our 2020 budget. The first proposal was increased assessment by $47 per minute per month. So 2 board members supported as well. One of them is on the candidate today.
Andre, your
Okay.
time is up, dear.
Thank you. I'll speak
Maybe
more
that
later
will
on.
come up in a question. You can
Yes.
address that later. Thank you all for that. We're going to go to the questions now, and we will go those in order as well. And take a minute and a half, and watch your timer. It'll let you know. So the first question I'm going to ask is to Neda. And the question I have for you is, what do you feel is the most necessary attribute to being a successful board member?
Could you repeat that question again?
What do you feel is the most necessary attribute to being a successful board member?
I think the most important things that I can do to communicate with the people, with the residents, and then bring their voice to you guys, and then bring the members, the board members to them. This is the most important things, to listening and be patient about the complaining that they have, and listen to them and helping them actually.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maggie, do you know what the United Mutual governing documents are, and have you used them, the LWV website, to access and review them?
Thank you. I've studied the U.S. governing documents since 2013. I'm with them constantly. I'm running the documents chair of committee now for 3 years. So I look at them all the time. I know what the governing documents are, and I know what the HOA and CID laws are. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. What are they?
What are they? That's the Davis-Sterling Act.
Okay. We'll get to that one next, then. I'll ask you that. That's another question. But let's get, Brian, would you like to answer this question? How familiar are you with the Davis-Sterling Act, the California Civic and Corporation Codes, and Robert Rules of Order?
With the Davis-Sterling Act, I am familiar with that. I have read it, and I've read its case law coming out of the appeals courts. So if we're really going to understand that, you need to understand how the judges in the appeal courts rule. And I've read many of those appeal cases.
Great. Thank you very much. Gary, what is your understanding of the shared cost concept the village is based on?
Shared cost, excuse me, shared cost is what we all divvy in for all of the, like golf, tennis, pickleball, all of the amenities that are given to us. And those are all costs that we have to share. And I think right now there's kind of we're into a committee or a task force in which we're studying what to do with these, or if we need to try to raise more money dealing with shared costs without, maybe usage rather than, so that people that don't play golf are not paying other costs. People that want to play pickleball, maybe are going to have to pay something which they're not paying right now. So that's what shared cost is.
Thank you. Cynthia, as a member of an 11-member board, how would you handle a situation where you are in the minority of a decision made by the board?
Well, first, I would find out what the opposing members put forward and analyze why they are taking that position. Then I might propose my solutions to those members and try and get them to understand my side of the situation and my viewpoint so that maybe I could persuade a few of those members to come towards my direction. I feel that working as a team requires sacrifices, and it also requires that people are willing to listen to your side of the story. And when we do that, we get a better understanding of everything that comes into that equation.
Thank you. And Andre, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge facing our mutual today?
The biggest challenge facing our mutual today is the board is not leading the staff. The board just randomly assign projects and not concerned about the cost, not concerned about residents' reaction, what they need, what they want, what they must have. So it's very important that the board listen to the residents, hear what they want, talk to them, speak for them, listen to them, and watch their money. That's the most critical thing that the board needs to, the challenge that the board needs to face with the residents and help the residents live a better life here, not to give them the petite rules and regulations. And because 1% people cause this problem, we're restricting 99%. And we need to reduce the cost, make sure that everything will be done efficiently, effectively, and make sure that the residents will take the full benefit of the whole process. Thank you.
Thank you. Neda, do you understand the time commitment you will be making as a member of the United Board of Directors?
Yes.
Do you understand the numbers of committees that you'll be asked to be a part of and serve on?
What do you mean? You mean that about the financial committee?
There's, as you've heard, landscaping committees. There's
Landscaping.
many, many different
Yes,
committees.
exactly.
So it
yeah.
isn't just a once-a-month board meeting. There's many other commitments. And as long as you are saying you do understand that time commitment.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I heard that it's gonna be at least 20 hours in a week.
Well,
We should work on it.
good.
Or maybe more.
All right. Maggie, what is your experience working in group problem-solving situations? And describe one of those for us.
Well, I've been on the board, and that's group problem solving. And the board has to discuss exactly. We have to discuss something. We have to study the issue. We have to study the reports that we have. And we have to listen to any reports from any experts. And doing that, then we have to form our opinions and so on. And we do this beforehand. And then when we come to the meeting, we work with each other and we discuss and talk. And if we stick to giving our points in a civilized fashion, then we can persuade other people to consider what we have to say. The best decision is one which is considering all the points, not the one that is shouted the loudest. And if you can understand the point and see a way around it, then maybe you can offer a different solution. But you have to be prepared, you have to have studied everything, and you have to listen to what is said at the time.
Thank you. Brian, As a member of an 11-member group board, how would you handle a situation if you were in the minority of a decision made by the board?
Well, you know, at John Deere, we have this practice, had this practice of get differences away before the meeting. So there needs to be a lot of background work done. You need to understand where people stand, what their maybe hidden agendas are, where maybe it's sometimes a misunderstanding. So a lot of one-on-one conversations with the other board members is needed to understand where they're at. And then, you know, frankly, it's like Cynthia said, it's like the Iowa caucus. Then you try and convince them of your approach and see where they fall. And at the end of the day, as a member of the board, you have to respect the opinion of the board and the majority members. And I would hope that, you know, after the vote, we all stand with that consensus and support the decision. It has to be a uniform one.
Thank you. And Gary, do you know what the United Mutual governing documents are? And have you used the LW website to access and review them?
Yes, I have. Oh, excuse me. I have. I was on the governing docs committee, so I've listened to most everything that has been discussed and why we have rules, and we make rules because we have problems. I hear, you know, that we have too many rules. Well, the rules come up because of the problems that our residents have complained about. And again, you can't, all you can do is try to help the majority. You're always going to have a minority that are not going to be going along with what the whole wants.
All right, thank you. Cynthia, do you understand the time commitment you will be making as a member of the United Board of Directors?
Yes, I believe I do. I understand that it's more than just attending the board members, that there will be committee work and time assigned with that committee. I do understand that it's almost a part-time job. And since I'm retired, I have plenty of time to fill in some needs. I do stay active in the community, but I'd like to be a little more involved in what's going on. So I'm very willing and able to put in the time that's necessary.
Thank you. Andre, what do you feel is the most necessary attribute to being a successful board member?
It's very simple. Concern of the residents. Talk to the residents. Speak for them. Watch their money. These are the issues that need to be emphasized over and over again. We exist because of the residents. We need to help the residents live a better life. We collect assessments from them. We need to spend their money like it's our own. We don't want to spend extra money that are not important to them. We need to identify the expenses as must, needs, and wish list. If it's wish list, let's wait until later when we have the extra money to do that. And when the must list would be maintenance, yes, we have to do that. But on the other hand, we need to identify the long-term projects, what's affecting us in the long term. For example, our customer relation management systems is really just a scanning system, paper sheet-based system. We need to upgrade that. Otherwise, your information will be lost. The whole process is causing problem. However, the board never asked them to take actions. And without directive from the board, without budget from the board, staffs cannot do it. The board needs to take the initiative, provide the direction to help residents live a better life here and identify those issues. That's what our job. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre.
Let's stop the questions and run it, Janie.
Yes, we did forget to put the tape of Janie on so that she could introduce herself after we had done the introductions portion. So if we could show that now, we'll interrupt questions for a minute and watch that, if we could see that, Daniel.
Which I will mention later on, I have been involved with many volunteer projects and honored with many achievements and awards, such as the Key to the City of Huntington Beach, VIP and Probation from the Orange County Probation Department, Citizen of the Year from the California Junior Women's Club, 22,000 members, the Disneyland Community Service Award. While living in Saudi Arabia, I was a hug lady for our troops during the first Gulf War. I served on the Recreation and Parks Commission for the City of Huntington Beach for 3 years. Some of you may recognize me as I was a board director during 2016 through 2018. I left the board for personal reasons. I find there are many major issues that have not been completely resolved. Many of them involve maintenance of our manors, landscape issues, and rising costs. I have extensive experience in the governance of our community. I was appointed to the United Board in 2016 and elected second vice president 2017, first vice president 2018. I have been an advisor 3 years and committee member 2 years to the Maintenance and Construction Committee, including vice chairman. 2 years as an advisor and 2 years committee member of the GRF Activities Committee. I was responsible for repair and maintenance of a resort I owned. Having been a real estate agent and was a relocation director for corporate transferees, all of which required me to assist in the maintenance and repair issues so that their properties were marketable condition. As chairman of the United Architectural Standard and Controls Committee, we streamlined the approval process for alterations. It was taking at least 2 to 3 years for approval of certain variances. Each alteration request required staff reports, resident appearance before committee, and ultimately board approval. To address this labor-intensive process, we established standard policies for split bathrooms, windows, and doors, to name a few. Now, as long as a resident's proposed modification meets the established standards, your required application is processed and you are good to go. This has saved staff and our residents time and money. One of our major issues we face in our community is over 50 years old with many infrastructure problems that need to be replaced or updated. During my tenure on the United Maintenance Construction Committee, we laid out plans to address these issues, identifying how much could be accomplished each year with funds that we have available. We have to live within our budgets. I intend to see how we can stretch our funds to speed up infrastructure repairs.
All right, let's get back to our questions. Neda, what is your experience working in a group problem-solving situation? And describe one of those situations for us, if you could.
I had many experiences in the past that when I was in the medical field, when we get the big project in the hospital, we started from having the consultation with these people to selling their actual equipment and then managing them for them, installing them for them, and it started from beginning to the end. And we need on that project to have lots of people working for us, and I'm the one who started to managing from them, to managing to how many people, how many group, and about the budget, about the cost, everything, to run that project to the beginning to the end. I have few actually project managing about the medical field actually, but this is my first time for doing the community.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Maggie, as an elected board member of United Mutual, to whom do you owe your first loyalty?
My first loyalty is to the corporation. It's quite clear in the Davis-Sterling Act and in the Corporations Code that we must consider the corporation first. It is our duty, also we have a fiduciary duty to the residents to manage the corporation and to do things in the right way so that the corporation endures. We have our rules for, our bylaws tell us the rules, all the rules that we have to apply, and we have to do those carefully. We have to consider everything. We have to consider the majority rather than the few or the one. It's a sad thing, but we try to do the best we can. But we must always consider the success of the corporation, the strength of the corporation. That doesn't mean raising fees unnecessarily or anything else. That means being very cautious and being certain that we maintain our status as one of the most successful CIDs in the USA. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, what do you feel is the most necessary attribute to being a successful board member?
That's a problem solver. And if you break out what you need to do to be a good problem solver, that means good listener, concern for people, deep skills in breaking down the problem into little pieces, working with people from different disciplines, different areas, building a team, and in developing the solution.
Great, thank you. Gary, as a member of an 11-member board, how would you handle, or have you handled, a situation where you are in the minority of a decision made by the board?
When the board votes and makes a decision, we are supposed to abide by that decision. We don't stand up and scream and carry on like little children that it didn't go our direction. You accept what the majority of the board has voted to do.
All right, thank you, Gary. Cynthia, do you know what the United Mutual governing documents are, and have you ever used the Laguna Woods Village website to access and review them?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
I have recently read the Davis-Sterling Act, so this is due to me, but I am deciphering it as we go. I have also read the bylaws so that I can understand the rules that regulate this board of directors. I'm working on the civic codes. I'm working my way through this. It's a process, but I'm getting familiar with it every day more and more.
Oh, thank you so much. Andre, do you understand the time commitment you will be making as a member of the United Board of Directors?
Yes, I fully understand. Currently, all board members are spending way too much time on the board issues. And I can give you an example. I always talk about Jeff Bezos, Amazon owner, and Elon Musk, Tesla owner, Warren Buffett, big investor company. And they must be on several boards. They are invited. Everybody want them to be on the board. They're looking for things that they can probably cooperate with. How can they be on 5, 6 boards if they have to spend 40 hours, 20 hours a week? Is there something we can do to reduce it? My conclusion is board gives direction. Here is the direction we want the company go, want the organization go. And they establish organizations, say, these people are responsible for these things, and hold them accountable for their activities. And then come up with measurements and tell them, say, give this measurement so I can tell whether you reach the goal or not, or whether you do the things right or not. That's it. And they look at the measurements. Unfortunately, our board doesn't have that kind of concept, and they dive right into issues themselves. That's micromanaging. Okay, we need to do our director, board responsibility. That doesn't take that much time. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Neda, are you familiar with the Davis-Sterling Act, the California Civic and Corporation Codes, and Robert's Rules of Order?
Yeah, actually, I started to read about it. I'm a little bit familiar with it, but I'm still working on it.
Okay,
Yeah,
you're wading through it like Cynthia.
exactly.
All right, thank you. Maggie, what do you feel is the most necessary attribute to being a successful board member?
A spirit of cooperation and intent to make it work. If you have no intent to make it work, if your intent is to destroy everything or change things in a bad way or quickly destroy everything, then you're not going to succeed as a board member because you are not going to get the votes to get your ideas passed. So you have to have a spirit of cooperation and an idea of what you want done and what you need to do, what your responsibilities are in the bylaws and in the Davis-Sterling Act, and not take on too much. We have a well-experienced staff. We have a VMS board that hires the staff. We have a CEO and a COO. We have 8 divisions, and we have 56 divisions. 8 head departments and 56 divisions. There is no way the directors can control all of that. So we listen to their reports, give them guidance if it is an issue that we can deal with, and just let the CEO or the COO know, or our committees know what the direction is. We can give direction, but we cannot do the analysis. It's simply too great and not worth our time. We can't do it.
Thank you. Brian, what is your experience working in group problem-solving situations, and if you could describe one for us?
That's my job description at John Deere, and I did that for 21 years. John Deere is a company where decentralized business unit is a core value of the company. So I had to pull together people who came from different business units and bring them along to advance the company. There's a list 21 years long. We implemented a computer-aided engineering strategy where, you get into technical experts and they have very specific ideas on how to do things. We had to get around those issues. We had to close the gaps in people using the tools. And I'm talking, this is 20 years ago, so it was virtual design for those who are aware of engineering. But it's using computer tools. And then we had to implement them. That was adopted. That is a way of doing business now at John Deere. Another example is we launched a program with Purdue University on autonomous combines. I had tractors, intelligent vehicle systems, our technology group there, and my team combines, all contributing money. They wanted to give money to the effort. So there's wind tunnels. I could go on and on talking about this one, but that was the job. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Gary. Let's see. As an elected board member of United Mutual, to whom do you owe your first loyalty?
My first loyalty is to the corporation, and I was elected by the residents, so then I am to listen to the residents and try to do the best I can for the whole to do what I think is the best thing. It's not always going to be right for everyone. And I think one thing that I've been sitting here listening to is how to manage, and that's not what a board does. Board members, we have a hired management team here, which, we need to oversee the management team, but we should not be interfering in the day-to-day activities. We also should, if people come to us with a problem, we should listen and refer them to resident services, because if we get involved, it starts causing a lot of problems. We need to respect each other and respect the managers and respect the staff, and or we're going to be having harassment lawsuits.
All right, thank you. Cynthia, what is your understanding of the shared cost concept the village is based on?
Well, it seems that there is a pool of income, and that income is produced by different fees and assessments that come from various organizations, members. That money is then shared and distributed to handle all the amenities and all the functionality that happens within the community. It's not necessarily one-to-one relationship. You have to take the overall picture and take the whole over the one.
Great, thank you. Andre, as a member of an 11-member board, how would you handle a situation where you are in the minority of a decision made by the board?
First, when you're in a minority, you have to understand whether what you propose is what residents want. So usually what I do is I speak to the resident. I talk to them and I poll them, I do survey on them and ask for their response. When I get enough response to go one way or the other, majority of the residents wants to go one way or the other, I'll try to convince the board to go the direction that the residents want. There are people that talk about cooperation. Sometimes cooperations and residents head a different direction. For example, guarantors. The initial decision to eliminate the guarantor is because some majority board members believe guarantors is detrimental to our community, create ghettos. But when I talk to the residents, turn out they want guarantors because it raised the price of the property, it increased the buyers, and increased the values. So those issues must be addressed over and over again. I'm glad I'm the one that brought the issues up and over and over and over again. And finally, now the guarantor issue is reinstated, option is reinstated, and that's benefit all the residents. Heard from many real estate agents, guarantor elimination is the #1 reason that we dropped our market price. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre. Neda, as an elected board member of United Mutual, to whom do you owe your first loyalty?
My first loyalty to the residents of Laguna Woods, because I think that I'm hearing a lots of complaint. I'm hearing a lots of stuff that they are suffering about it, and they don't like it. And I'm the one that coming here to just, get their voice to the boards, and then try to describe all the rules and all the regulation that we have to them. Because of that, the first loyalty that I have is to the residents, and then understanding and do the actually great changes to the rules. That is the I don't want to disagree with the rules that the mutual has, but revising it to even the mutual be happy and the residents too. We need that in many aspects.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Maggie, what is your understanding of the shared cost concept the village is based on?
Okay, the shared cost concept means that everyone donates the same amount to GRF. And GRF bills some activities for user fees that are very expensive. For example, golf is an expensive participation activity in the village. Not everyone belongs. So not everyone pays a certain amount for golf every month. So part of that is the shared cost. But on top of that, in order to fill in the need, then golfers' fees are raised. And so we have golf and the stables and the recreational vehicle park are the three which are the costs now which are billed, and the garden plots are billed to residents who use those specifically. Well, the base cost of those, only a percentage of the total cost is billed to the individual activities persons, and the rest of it is spread out evenly to everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brian, as an elected board member of United Mutual, to whom do you owe your first loyalty?
This reminds me of Abraham Lincoln, who said, "Of the people, by the people, for the people," even though he's sworn to the Constitution. It's the same sort of discussion we're having. In the documents, the board member has to be loyal to the corporation. That's the black and white. But functionally, morally, it has to be of the people, by the people, for the people. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Gary, let's see are you familiar with the Davis-Sterling Act, the California Civic, and the corporation codes and Robert's Rules of Order?
After 3 years, I've been through them multiple times, yes. And I'm not sure that we always abide by those rules in our meetings, and I think we need to enforce the rules a little bit more at our meetings, because our meetings get a little out of hand.
Thank you. Cynthia, what is your experience working in group problem-solving situations, and could you describe a situation?
Yes, I'm an accountant of 25 years, so I've managed a lot of accounting departments, which requires a little bit of finesse every now and then. In addition to that, I was on the investment committee at MFR Financial, and that required quite a bit of cooperation as we consulted on various investment options that were available. So you have to really work as a team player to bring everything together and to make it mesh properly. And so I feel that I have a lot of experience working as a team player and working to collectively get the answer that we need.
Thank you. Andre, are you familiar with the Davis-Sterling Act, California Civic and Corporation Codes, and the Robert's Rules of Order?
Of course, been on the board for 3 years. There are many occasions that I violated the Davis-Sterling law and Robert's rule, but I've been reminded and I learned my lesson from them. However, there's a tendency that some board members use a partial statement of Robert's rule and the Davis-Sterling law to misuse it. And that's the problem sometimes as a result, it becomes a political rules. And that's prevented the process of the correct process of board meeting. And what we need is common sense. Okay, for example, we're running into a situation that chair seems to be able to address anything, anytime the chair wants. And when we asked Parliament say yes, the legal counsel say yes. But I believe the Roberts Rule really means that the chair needs to state things that relate to the procedures, but not to the issues anytime she wants to talk. If she's talking about the issues should be open to the public, to all the board members to make statement, rather than one-sided view from only the chair. So these are the rules that we need to interpret correctly. We need to understand it, make sure it's not just partially interpreted, but it's also for the benefit of the resident, all different views are expressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Neda, as a member of an 11-member board, how would you handle a situation where you are in the minority of a decision that is made by the board?
I think the most important things that I can do as a team player. I found a solution. I tried to speak to all the members, and all together we find a great solution for the residents.
Okay, thank you. Maggie, do you understand the time commitment you will be making as a board member of the United Board of Directors?
Yes, and do you notice the white hair? Thank you.
Yes, thank you too. Brian, what is your understanding of the shared cost concept that the village is based on?
It's just as the name applies, it's a mutual. So we, as a collective, own the buildings, much of the equipment inside the buildings, responsible for the upkeep, and that cost is distributed out. How we manage that cost is another question, which we need to, as a fiduciary, we need to manage very carefully. A lot of people are on fixed income. We need to be sensitive to that. And also we need to, I'll go back to my opening statement. We need a sharper pencil when we're handling those sort of decisions, and we need to take deeper thought into the details on some of the proposals that come along. Like the handyman service was a good one, but the business model might not have been right. So it's just as the name applies, mutual, shared cost, shared responsibility. A few people have to be in a position to make the decisions, and that's what the board does.
Thank you. Gary, United has a code of conduct and confidentiality agreement. Are you willing to sign and abide by them?
I have for 3 years.
Great. Thank you. Andre. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm skipping Cynthia here. Can't be doing that. Cynthia, how familiar are you with the Davis-Sterling Act, the California Civic and the Corporation Codes, and the Roberts Rules of Order?
I actually answered this one earlier. I have read the Davis-Sterling Act, and I have read the bylaws of the board and the corporation. I've read Robert's rules, but I am working through the civic codes. It's going, it's flowing, but it is a project to get through and work through.
All right, thank you. And now, Andre, what is your experience working in group problem-solving situations? And please describe one of those for us.
Group solving problem is my career. Okay, group problem solving. I worked as IT directors. I lead meetings. I make sure my team will work cooperatively, make sure they will all be productive. That's when I lead. And when I was also a program manager, leads about 30 project managers, directors, VPs, working on a company-wide 500 people project. And that's also, I don't have any authority over everybody, but I have the authority of making sure they all meet the project deadline. So we developed quite a few measurements to make sure they will meet the deadline, not just time-wise, but resource-wise and also quality-wise, deliverable-wise. These are the issues that you need to consider when you work in a group environment. As far as being a director, we need to work in the group dynamics, and that will help us reach consensus decision. But the most important thing is we need to bring residents' voice to the director, to the board, making sure their voices are heard. And that's what we definitely need to do. Yes, some of us may be in the minority side. We will accept it, and we will explain to the residents. And if they disagree, we'll help them to develop some strategy to make sure their voice are heard. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Neda, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge facing our mutual today?
I think that maybe the biggest challenge to reducing the cost, especially I heard that is increasing, and I heard that everybody's in the community, they are complaining about it. And the other things about the value of the homes that's going down. One, because of the HOA goes up, and all the regulation that you have it in the mutual, it makes the value, and nobody's qualified, the financial requirement. And I think this is the biggest challenge. We should think about it, look for it, and find the solution for it.
All right, thank you. Maggie, the United Code of Conduct and confidentiality agreements, are you willing to sign and abide by them? And I believe that would be
Certainly I
a
am.
yes answer there.
Yes, I am, and I hold that true and close. There are a lot of directors who disregard it. There are some directors who never signed it, who refused to sign it. I hold that as, this is our pledge to our members, what we will do. And we will work together, and we will be loyal to the corporation, and we will listen to the problems and work together to solve them. And this is, our behavior must be such that we can converse with those with whom we disagree, and that we can work out things. There is no place in the code of conduct for screaming and yelling and insulting one another. So yes, I hold to this code of conduct very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Brian, do you understand the time commitment you will be making as a member of the United Board of Directors?
I certainly do. And I know it's a time commitment, but I'd rather look at it as a commitment to get the job done. Once the job started, it has to get done. And, as far as doing the VMS homework, I'd say that's like doing their homework. And as an old professor, people need to do their own homework. I don't do their homework for them. But, a board should be leading, giving direction, guidance, and voting on important matters. So I know it takes a lot of time, but it's the commitment to get the job done that I'd rather focus on. But certainly the time will be there to make the commitment.
Thank you. Gary, what do you feel is the most necessary attribute to being a successful board member?
I think you have to have an open mind. You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to react to what people want. And, I sit here and I listen to complaints about increasing costs. Costs are rising outside the gates as well as inside the gates, and I think we can't forget that. As far as sales are concerned, sales are down outside the gates all over Orange County as well as within the gates here. And we're at about the same percentage inside the gates as outside the gates. As far as financial requirements are concerned, we have those financial requirements so that people don't come to a point in their life where they start having a shortage of money and can't afford the monthlies. I guess that's all I have right now.
All right, thank you, Gary. Cynthia, as an elected board member of United Mutual, to whom do you owe your first loyalty?
Well, as in black and white, I owe it to the corporation. However, as we heard before, the members are what need to come first. We need to hear what they need. We need to listen to what they feel are their concerns. And we need to bring them forward so that they feel that they are the first and foremost to this board.
Thank you. Andre, what is your understanding of the shared cost concept of village-based, how it's based on that?
Shared cost concept can be divided into several areas. GRF shared concept, the facility shared concept is about the facility shared concept, facility usage concept, shared cost concept. But from United point of view, shared cost concept means we share all the expenses together. And so if you have a refrigerator broken and it's free because it's shared cost, every member pays that kind of expense, okay? If there's landscape maintenance needs to be done, okay, then it's shared cost. We don't distinguish that because you have this tree, so we charge you this one, and then we charge, and we don't do that kind of thing. That's the shared cost from a united point of view, from the mutual point of view. That we must understand. So there are a lot of costs that we share with each other, and you don't have to pay. My analogy is it's like you live in a hotel, and everybody, whatever hotel needs to maintain, they pay for it, you don't pay for it. But at the price that you rent this property, yes, you pay for that in a sense. But you don't specifically pay for water leak here and other issues specifically related to the mutual. That's what I think the share cost is, and I fully support it. Okay, that will make our life much simpler here. Thank you.
Thank you. Neda, do you understand the time commitment that you're making as a board member?
Yes, I do. I answer that. Do you want I answer that about the share cost?
I would like,
concept?
yes, what's your understanding of that? That was the other question I was going to ask you.
The
What's your
share
understanding?
concept.
The shared concept.
Actually, this is the one of the complaining that I'm hearing in the community about that. The share concept that I'm feeling, and I think that most of the people understanding that is the money, as part of the money that we pay as HOA goes to the amenities like golf, swimming pool, gym, and all these facilities that we're using it. And unfortunately, lots of people complaining that I'm not doing the pickleball. Why should I pay for the pickleball court or tennis or the golf? And I feeling that we should look for this to find a solution that the people joining these clubs pay a little bit more than the people they are not doing it and they are not using it. And even most of them, they cannot using it. Lots of people, they cannot play tennis. They don't have that joint, it's hard. Yeah, that's
right.
it, thank you.
Thank you. Maggie, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge facing our mutual today?
Our biggest challenge, other than the costs of everything, which is true everywhere, our biggest challenge is a perception. We are a large, successful CID. You moved into a large, successful CID. It's why you came. You came for all of the things you could do here. You came for the safety. You came for the security of living here. It is not a till death do us part deal, like any other housing deal. We do not have to keep you here and please you for the rest of your life. It's up to you. You're free to move out any time. We will continue running the village the way we do because this is how we are structured, this is our purpose, and this is why everyone moved in here, to switch in midstream and say, no, we're going to just become a kind of quiet retirement village without amenities and things, is not loyal to the members who make the investment and who remain here day after day, year after year. So we need to realize how valuable what we have is and be willing to do what it takes to make it last. Because if you move out, that's okay. Someone else will move in who does want to preserve it. So I think we need that positive outlook. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, United has a code of conduct and confidentiality agreements, and are you willing to sign and abide by them?
Certainly, that's the way you do business nowadays.
All right. I'm sorry, I'm looking some of these questions and they seem rather, Gary, do you understand the time commitment that you will be? So it's kind of, that's the question. I kind of think I know the
I've
answer.
been through it. I don't understand it.
That's very good answer. Very good answer. Also, Cynthia, United has this code of conduct and confidentiality agreement. Are you willing to sign and abide by them?
Yes, I am, and in most of the industries I've worked in, it's required to have a confidentiality agreement as well.
Right. All right, thank you. Andre, as an elected board member of the United Mutual, to whom do you owe your first loyalty?
I think I've stated that my loyalty is to the residents, okay? Yes, there's a corporation, but corporation really means the majority or mostly the residents' opinion, rather than the corporation should represent the residents. Without residents, without our members, the corporation doesn't exist. So there's a highly valued principle that we should take those members seriously. And the question about cooperation is, I've asked the question to some of people that says, we should be loyal to the cooperation. I said, I hear residents talk all the time. They give me advices. They tell me what I should vote for, but I never hear anything from cooperation. Where did you hear that cooperation's voice? I believe at certain time when you are so far removed from the residents, it becomes you're voting for your own agenda. Okay, it's like a guarantor. People are voting for their own agenda. They have a certain fear. They have heard some rumors, and they start believing that's the corporation's needs. So that's very important to distinguish between cooperation. Is this really cooperation needs? Is this what cooperation based on residents' needs? Or is it just removed from residents, just totally outside of it? Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Neda, the United has a code of conduct and confidentiality agreement. Are you willing to sign and abide by them?
Definitely, I will sign it.
All right, thank you. Maggie, as a member of an 11 board member, how would you handle a situation where you're in the minority of a decision that has been made by the board?
Well, I've been there before.
I would guess.
And I fought as hard as I could. I argued as persuasively as I could. I did not interrupt anybody. I did not yell. I did not scream. I waited, and when the vote came down, that's it. That's it. That's the new law. So you just put that aside and you work to make the new law work. And fortunately, my fears for that resolution were all solved with the implementation by social services and security. So all my fears were just erased. All my concerns were erased. The wording of the resolution I thought was very risky for us, but as they have implemented it, I am very secure that that was the right resolution. So you have to just put it down, listen to it, and look and see how it works out. If it's not working out well, then you might come back 6 months later and make a suggestion. Thank you.
Okay. Brian, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge facing our mutual today?
The biggest challenge goes back to my opening statements, and that's how do we contain the cost and still maintain and improve the value of the manors? This is given that they're 50 years old. It's a complex problem. It's a systems problem. I'm a systems engineer, so I like that kind. But they're tough problems. And it really requires a lot of work and a lot of thought on that one. But, you know, it's going to have to be a team effort to solve it because no one person has the answer to that challenge. But, you know, we go either way on that, and it's going to have to be a balance. We go either way, and we have lots of risk on either side. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary, what is your experience working in group problem-solving situations? Please kind of describe one of those situations for us.
I think one of them is being on the M&C committee. And I think one of the things I want to address here are the amount of the assessments that are going up. And as was just discussed, our buildings are a minimum of 50 years old. We are having supply line and sewage line problems. We have the supply lines, which are having the holes and cracks and causing damage within the unit. We are having sewage backups, which are also causing people to move out of their manors for a number of months and stay in a hotel. We need, all the valves need to be replaced within the manors, toilet valves, which I understand they're working on doing right now, but they were very old. All of our sink valves. We have electrical transformers that we need to update because without that, we can't increase our electrical output, and therefore we can't have instant hot water. We're having dry rot, and we need to address drainage and spouting, and we need new gutters on every building.
Thank you. Cynthia, what do you feel is the most necessary attribute to being a successful board member?
Well, I think probably working with other members on the board, being a team player, being able to listen to people and absorb what they're telling you, being patient, not jumping in, but listening, reflecting, taking it in, and determining your next step to help win over the situation. I also believe that you have to be respectful and you have to accept the outcome, whatever it happens to be, whether it's in your favor or not.
Thank you. Andre, United has a code of conduct and confidentiality agreement. Are you willing to sign and abide by them?
Yes, I'm willing to sign and abide by it. When the first came out, I signed it and I tried to abide by it. But when I started asking questions, I was told that you are not in unity with the board. And I said, I'm asking questions. Why can't I express the issues that I collected from the residents? And so I was punished because I was not in unity. Okay, that's why you see the board meetings, everybody's in unity. We're not allowed to ask questions. We're only allowed to ask questions in private. But not even in private. Code of conduct say, if you are not in unity, you cannot, you will be punished. So there's an issue there. I have no problem signing code of conduct, but when the code of conduct says you have to have unity, and like Trump said, it's really loyalty to certain people, then that is a problem. My loyalty is only to the residents. So I will always bring up issues whether they like it or not. But if the residents want me to bring it up, I will bring it up. Okay. Code of conduct is only to help we come to consensus, but code of conduct has no authority to stop people from talking about residents' concerns. I will sign it, but I will only sign it with when the code of conduct is performed properly. Thank you.
Bye. Neda, do you know the difference between an HOA, Homeowners Association, and a CID, Common Interest Development? And do you know which United Mutual is?
I will look for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm searching definitely, and I give you the answers.
Okay. Brian, would you answer the same question, please?
My understanding of HOAs,
Microphone, yeah.
yeah, my understanding is HOAs are typically for condominium associations. And CID is a common interest development, which is more of a mutual.
Okay. Cynthia, are you aware of that as well?
Yes, I am. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yes, I am, and we are a CID. Homeowners associations are, just as they say, for condos and homeowners and residential sections.
Okay. I think we have nothing left. Yes, we'll go ahead now with, we finished up the questions, and what we're going to do in closing remarks, we're going to start with Janie's closing statement. So we'll do her first, and then we will go from the tape to Andre, and you'll have 2 minutes for closing remarks. And so let's go forward on Janie's tape.
Continue to my opening statement. Okay.
Wait, we're going to do Janie's. We're going to do
okay.
Janie's first.
Looking forward, infrastructure is one of my main concerns. We need to continue with the maintenance and construction programs to preserve our manors for another 50 years. By budgeting through our reserve plan for waste lines, copper water lines, electrical panels, water heaters, building structures, dry rot, downspouts, landscape, and tree maintenance. I support getting all of our leaky pipes epoxy lined by 2025 so that we will not have to spend funds on frequent stoppages or flooding of our manors. I also want to reinstate the self-supporting handyman program. I have 3 goals. Number 1, strive to keep the monthly assessments affordable, ensure cost-efficient upkeep of United Manors and common area. Number 3, encourage input of my fellow residents. I bring my expertise, dedication, and integrity to ensure United remains properly managed and maintained for the benefit of existing and future United shareholders. I am fully prepared to address our issues starting with my first day in office. As a former United director, I am familiar with how the board and staff interact, the bylaws and legislation to be effective board member. I'm a hard worker and bring enthusiasm and energy with lots of experience and expertise with a smile on my face. I am asking for your consideration for the position of a United board member. Thank you.
Okay, Andre.
Okay, continue my opening statement. A typical waste of money is the Roundup test. Other mutuals saw the writing on the wall, and they banned Roundup, no question asked. United Landscape believes it's unnecessary to ban it. You eat the same amount of poison in your cereal anyway. Why ban it? Under pressure, the board ordered a test, providing the cost was overwhelming. But one board member pointed out the cost calculation was inflated, flawed. Now that requires a second test. This time the cost is much lower and acceptable. This kind of waste money should be avoided. Directors need to have the oversight to see what's going on there and whether things should be taken or just waste money on more and more research. And also, board members should vote based on facts and evidence, not rumors or fears. A good example would be the guarantor option. And the rumor was if they cannot afford the manor, they cannot afford assessment. It's further from the truth. And there's a rumor that talked about, one of our board members mentioned that we have ghettos in our community. I don't see security department mentioning anything about the ghettos in our community. So I don't know where are these rubrics come from. And the decision was based on that. In the same time, I was asking, do we have a delinquency report that relate to the guarantors? And the board refused to even study the delinquencies. There is no statistic to indicate the guarantors are causing any problems at all. So I would like to point out at this point that sometimes the staffs are overwhelmed with directions that lead to waste time and budget with bad returns, and they don't have the resources to take care of directions to use their resources most effectively and to get the job done without taxing and the residents. I hope you will vote for the candidates that match your money. Watch your money. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Cynthia?
Daniel, we don't have this on the screen anymore, the timing.
No? There we are, thank you. Okay, a minute and a half for, 2 minutes, sorry, 2 minutes. We have 2 minutes. I'm always trying to cut you short, Cynthia. I don't know what's going on there. Sorry about that. But if you will have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Well, as an accountant of 25 years, I have managed many employees and many accounting departments of various sizes and locations. I've handled financial needs from simple data entry to monthly closings, financial statements, reviews, and processing, all the way into income tax preparation. So I really understand following rules, procedures, regulations, which I think would help me as a board member being able to follow those documents. But I also believe that we must always, as a board member, think about a cost-benefit equation, and that's important to educate the members as to what that really means to them, so that they understand that the board is weighing many issues and that we are trying to do the best that we can for all, not just a single one. As a Girl Scout and a Boy Scout leader, I understand the meaning of always be prepared, and since I've taken that as my motto, I think that would be beneficial to the board here. Finally, what I really think is important is that we share with all the members what a wonderful place that this actually is, and that we help all the residents appreciate the gift that this community is. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary?
Okay, as I've stated before, I think we have 50-year-old buildings, and infrastructure is one of our main problems, and we have to address this. It's going to cost money, and I think our residents have to decide the level of where they want to be. Every meeting I sit here and I listen to the residents complain that their level of landscaping is not where they want it. M&C is not where they want it. And so then we increase, when you get more people to address those problems, the costs are going to increase and we have to pay for them. So I guess we have to decide where we want to be on that level. I want to say that reserves, we did a reserve study and our reserves are lower than what they should be. And so I don't think that we should be cutting our reserves or using our reserves for operation needs. I want to address a guarantor. Before we outlawed guarantors, we were having problems with guarantors that were outside of the state of California, and by law, there was no way to pursue these funds. So we were being stuck with the monies that were being guaranteed by the outside of the state guarantors. So that's why the guarantor policy now states California, because that we can address. I want to also address the recognition agreement with NCB because I've heard more and more about that. The recognition agreement is signed stating that that bank will pay the monthly assessments until the unit is sold, which then saves us that money. I want to say
Okay,
that.
your time is up, Gary. Sorry. Brian?
Thank you. I think there's no doubt that we have a big challenge around what we want to spend versus maintaining our infrastructure and our facilities, and they're getting older, as well as people's expectations about amenities. And there's also emerging regulations coming down the pipe, as we could all imagine. So, you know, it takes a problem solver. I'm a problem solver. I'm a leader. I'm an inventor. I can apply deep expertise and work with people to identify and close the gaps in business operations and scale the problem and solutions so that we get a system solution. We just don't want to solve it for one individual, but for the entire community. How do we scale that might be a consideration in some of that. You know, I look back at my career, I've solved a wide variety of problems, organizational problems, product service, technology development problems, people and HR problems. You might not think about an engineer doing that, but when you're in a management role, you do. That's the definition of that job. And I've collaborated with many disciplines, just about any discipline I encounter. It's an opportunity to create a better solution. And not only engineering, but business colleagues, geriatric specialists, marketing people, and customer support. That's how a company works. Finally, you know, I'd be delighted to serve on any of the committees, but I think I could provide a greater service on maintenance and construction, architectural control and standards, finance, or the Energy Task Force, and the GRF committees of finance, media and communications, and mobility and vehicles, which is closer to my heart as an old automotive engineer. Thank you.
Thank you. Maggie?
Thank you. The first landscape test was very inexpensive, and it was short, and it did what they knew then. 6 months later, of course, the scientists had been working on the problem, and so we followed a new procedure, and they blended the ingredients instead. So they blended two together, which happened to be the winning combination. And so that is why that one worked. The first one, they hadn't ever tried blending, and nobody in the States had tried one. And to date, in fact, just as an aside, no state has yet banned Roundup. No state has banned it. A valuable board member follows the procedures and follows the meeting rules. I believe in the silent majority. I believe we need to concern ourselves with the majority of members and protect their interests and their rights. And the majority of members want this to be a successful place. I want us to care for our reserves because all of the topical projects are listed on the reserves. I've got 12 checks on the reserve page. Those are all the immediate projects right now. Those are very important to us. I believe we should proceed with care, use reasonable procedures and fair rules to protect the majority, financial stability with adequate, reasonable assessments. I want us to preserve our beautiful forest home. I want to provide better communication, promote neighborliness, and professional behavior in meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Neda?
I would like to say I am a team player, and if I elected to this board, I would look forward to working with all of you on issues that arise, and to be a voice for the resident and also a voice from this board back to the resident. I would do my best to preserve this beautiful and wonderful place to live that we have here in Laguna Woods. Thank you.
Juanita, do you have some closing remarks?
I do. First of all, I'd like to thank all of our candidates, and I'm sorry that 3 of our candidates could not be here. I'm particularly sorry that 2 of them did not let us know in time to film their statements, because that was available to them just as it was to Janie. So I hope you won't hold that against them, and we will see them in future forums. As to that, there will be at least 2 other forums of candidates. The first one is this coming Monday, the 19th of August. It's put on by ACC, the Association of Condos and Co-ops, and it will be at 4 p.m. in the Performing Arts Center, Dining Room 2. And the second one that we know of is going to be from a new club, your United Neighbors, and that's going to be August 28th, and it's at 4 p.m.
Yes.
What building, Mary? Clubhouse 1, I knew it wasn't the PAC, okay. In Clubhouse 1 at 4 p.m. And again, those are your opportunities, speaking to the audience, to hear more about what our candidates. Now, because we are televised today and we are under great time constraints, we have not had audience questions. At these other forums, there probably will be audience questions. They're not doing it in as structured a manner as we have to do. Just to let you know, the ballots will be mailed out on Monday, August 26th. So be aware, they are starting to mail them that day. Everybody doesn't get them on the same day. Usually it's 2, maybe 3 days at the most before the whole village gets theirs. And it's not just our ballots. Third Mutual is also doing it, and they have to take into account the mailing on those as well. We use the same inspector of elections, and all of the ballots come out from the inspector of elections, not from the community center here. So those will begin on Monday, August 26th. You should be looking for your ballots Monday, Tuesday of that week. If you don't get a ballot, you can call the community center here and they will give you the address or the phone number of the director of the inspector of elections, and you can ask for a substitute ballot. Give them a couple days to make sure yours doesn't come through. The ballots are mailed to and united the shareholders. If you are a sublessee or a renter, you will not be getting a ballot. It goes to the shareholder of the unit at whatever address we have for them. So just wanted to make that clear, because sometimes we get people who call and say, I didn't get a ballot, and they weren't eligible for a ballot because they were not a shareholder. There is 1 ballot per share. You may have 2, 3 people on that share. We often have married couples. They do not each get a ballot. There is 1 ballot per share that will be sent out. The ballots are due back on Thursday, September 26th at 11 a.m. There will be a ballot box for both of the mutuals in the reception area of the community center if you want to just drop it off, or you can mail it back to the inspector of elections, but they need to get it by then. The ballot counting will be on Friday, September 27th, and for United, it will be at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. Third is doing theirs in the counting in the morning. So if you want to come, it's not televised, although the end, we do put it on, but it is not televised. And so if you want to find out who the winners were early, when the ballots are counted, you're welcome to come and watch the ballot counting. Our annual meeting, our organizational meeting, when our new people will take their seats officially, is October 8th. Even though the ballots are counted on September 27th, they are not officially a board member until October 8th at our annual meeting. So that will be televised, and we hope everybody will join us for that. That's kind of a recap of the year and the swearing in of all of our board members at that time. Yeah. For our candidates, please, as soon as you leave here, upstairs, to get your pictures taken and to do your short videos that are going to be done on VTV very often. Just to let you know, today was the Meet the Candidates this morning. On Wednesday of this week, there will be a replay at 6 o'clock at night of our meeting. On Friday at 4 o'clock, there will be a replay of the Meet the Candidates that you saw that were on today. The United Budget meeting, if you missed that, will be replayed at 6 o'clock on the 18th, Sunday. And the last week in August, I'm reading from the schedule for VTV, which everybody hopefully can pick up. The United Candidate Statements will be broadcasted at 9:30 on Tuesday. That would be the 27th. The United Candidates replay from this hour will be on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And the United Statements that they're going to be filming upstairs right after this will be on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So just kind of keep tuned to television. We try to do it as many times as possible. This is offered as a free service to all of our candidates. It has been our intent to make it as easy and as non-expensive to be a candidate as possible. In the past, candidates have paid a great deal of money to put on all kinds of things by themselves. We want everybody to know this is a volunteer position, and people shouldn't have to pay to run for a volunteer position. So we've done everything we can to make them accessible, to get their information out, to get their statements out, so that all of you in the audience, all of our residents, have an opportunity to know who they are and to vote intelligently. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.